You're not supposed to be here. No one told you that out loud. There was no warning label, no red-taped envelope, no gravel-voiced agent shaking their head and saying, "This file's above your clearance." But as soon as you pressed play, as soon as the screen flickered and your world slowed into a hush that felt wrong, you knew. Something in your gut twisted, like it recognized the scent of something buried. And now, something's watching you back. The room hasn't changed, but the light feels thinner. Your heartbeat's ticking against your ribs in a pattern that doesn't match anything you've ever felt before. Something opened when you hit play, something ancient. And this story? It's not just one you'll remember, it's one that might never let you go. The story begins, not in shadow but under brutal fluorescent courtroom light, where the law pretends to be blind but always seems to know who to look at. It begins with a badge, a nameplate, a voice that once echoed through squad cars and police radios. Detective Ronald Cade, a man who believed authority meant invincibility, the kind of man who wore his uniform like armor, not protection, the kind of man who spoke in clipped sentences, heavy with the weight of assumed power. He once looked at a crowd of protesters and smiled, not with joy but calculation. You could smell his confidence through TV screens. His story was supposed to end in medals and retirement speeches, until Shiwai walked into court, a black woman whose name wasn't in the docket, who was never called to testify, whose presence didn't make sense, until she spoke, and the room stopped breathing. Her name was Iris Monroe, and the moment she stepped through those courtroom doors, everything changed. The judge leaned forward without realizing it. The stenographer's fingers froze. Even Cade blinked like something pulled a string behind his eyes. She didn't walk in with fury. No, what she brought with her was far more dangerous: certainty. That kind of unshakable calm that makes even the proudest men tremble. She didn't look like a witness. She looked like someone who knew the ending. But this didn't start in a courtroom. It started, as most forbidden stories do, with something impossible. 1 month before the trial began, Ronald Cade's body cam footage, routinely reviewed, filtered and stored in a locked-down digital vault, began to change. Slightly at first. Timestamps that didn't match known events, echoes of voices when no one was present. One file in particular, from a routine welfare check in East Flatbush, was flagged by an automated system for audio anomaly. Not because of gunshots, not screams, but because of a voice that whispered one name, a name no one could trace, a name Ronald Cade never mentioned in any report. The voice said, "Iris is watching." The officer reviewing the footage laughed it off. Probably an audio glitch, crosstalk from another unit, until she vanished. Her desk sat untouched, her car still in the parking lot, badge and sidearm left on her chair. Surveillance showed her sitting in the review room, staring at the screen, then standing up, then opening the door, and then nothing. She was never seen again. The department buried it, citing mental health concerns. But Cade? Cade started, sleeping with the lights on. He began making strange calls to tech consultants, asking if footage could be altered after the fact, if ghosts could be caught on body cams. 2 weeks later, a baby, unrelated to the case across the city, spoke for the first time. The mother caught it on her phone. Not Mama or Dada, but a name clear as breath in a winter room. Cade. That baby had never watched the news, had never heard the name. The video went viral for a moment, a weird curiosity. But the mother, terrified, deleted it. A week later, her apartment caught fire. Investigators said it was faulty wiring, but the entire unit had been rewired the year before. The mother survived, but refused to speak again. She left New York that night, vanished into Middle America. Cade saw the footage before it was pulled, and that's when he requested a transfer. Not out of the city, but out of reality. He began seeing Iris, on street corners, in bus reflections, in the glass of his rearview mirror. Not always her face, sometimes just a shape. A woman. Still. Watching. When he blinked, she was gone. But the afterimage remained, like a photograph burned into the back of his eyelids. He started asking his fellow officers if they'd ever heard of her. No one had. Internal Affairs found him in his office at 3 a.m. one morning, rocking back and forth, staring at a printed screenshot of his own body cam footage. He'd circled the background of the image with red ink. In the corner, barely visible, was a woman, standing in a window, smiling. The house in that footage had been abandoned for years. Now, here's the thing you won't be able to shake. Cade was never accused of a crime. No charges, no official misconduct. His name wasn't in any complaints, yet somehow he ended up on the stand, testifying at a trial that no one could explain. The courtroom wasn't packed. There were no cameras. But Iris Monroe was there, sitting in the second row, not speaking, not blinking. She held a small book in her hands, worn with pages like ash. She never opened it, never had to. Cade kept glancing at it, as if he knew what was written inside. The prosecutor never questioned him. The judge never gave an opening statement. Yet the trial continued. Each day, Cade got weaker, pale, sweating, as if the truth was being carved out of him piece by piece. That's where you come in. You're seeing this because the footage leaked. Just one clip, 12 seconds long. Cade looking directly into the lens, breathing hard, whispering, "It wasn't justice, it was her." Then static. You're watching something no one was supposed to see. Something that crawled out from under the floorboards of justice and waited for the right time to be seen. And now that you've seen it, you've changed. But the ending hasn't come yet, because last week, a retired court officer from Brooklyn, now living in Phoenix, called 911. He said a woman was standing in his driveway, smiling, holding a book. The dispatcher asked for a description. He said, "It's her, from the trial, Iris Monroe." Then the line went dead. Officers arrived. The door was open, his car running, coffee half sipped on the counter, and a single sheet of paper placed on the floor, held down by a glass candle. It read, "Badge or no badge, I remember what you forgot." And now, just last night, something happened that no one's explained. The judge from Cade's case, retired, living in Maine, was found outside her home, face up, eyes open, her mouth curled into something not quite a smile. Her phone, still recording, the last 10 seconds of the video captured her whispering something, over and over again. 3 words. "She's still here." But Iris Monroe was never found, never arrested, never interviewed. The city doesn't even have a record of her birth. No social, no ID, no medical history. But hundreds of people across the country have now come forward with dreams, nightmares. A woman watching from the second row. A book in her lap. A courtroom they've never been in, but one they swear is real. And just last week, one of those people vanished after emailing the footage you just saw. Their last message? The file opens itself now. So now ask yourself, did you press play, or did the story press play on you because Iris is watching? And tomorrow, when you look in the mirror, you might not be alone. The moment the judge's final whisper faded, the screen went black, but your mind didn't. It spiraled. You felt the edges of your reality fray, like a delicate thread pulled too tight, threatening to snap. And then, silence. Not the peaceful kind, but the kind that presses against your ears, fills the room with a suffocating stillness that isn't absence of sound, but the loudness of something missing. You blink, and suddenly you can't remember how you got here. The chair beneath you feels wrong, like it's just a little too stiff, the light a shade too harsh. You swear you just heard a faint rustle behind you, a breath not your own, but when you turn, there's nothing. Or worse, there's someone, but you can't quite make out the face. The line between what you saw and what you feel begins to blur, and you realize you might never tell the difference again. Because here's the thing no one wants to say aloud. Maybe none of it was real. Maybe this whole story, the haunting figure of Iris Monroe, the vanished officers, the cryptic whispers, was a flicker in a mind stretched too thin. A glitch in the system of your own memory, or a collective fever dream brought on by years of unspeakable things buried deep beneath the surface. You scroll back through the footage. It's there, sort of. But then a chill creeps up your spine when you notice the audio warps, the timestamps jump, and the faces in the crowd blur just a little too easily. The baby's voice? You replay it again and again, but some words slip through your fingers, like smoke. Did she say Cade, or was it Fade? Your mind wants to settle on certainty, but the video fights you with every frame, like it's rewriting itself. And then the messages start, not from some shadowy source, but from someone who claims to have been inside the courtroom, someone who says they remember things you don't. Their words are erratic, sometimes lucid, sometimes spiraling into paranoia. They erased her. They erased all of us. We are the ghosts now. You want to believe them, but their messages arrive at odd hours, filled with misspellings and fragmented sentences. Their name? Elliot Graves. A court technician who worked security footage for years and insists he saw things on the tapes no one else did. Yet when you call, the voice on the line is soft, hesitant, and half forgotten, like a man trying to hide something even from himself. Elliot tells you about the real unsolved mystery behind what no one ever talks about in the precincts, behind the closed doors where badges collect dust and memories vanish like morning mist. What they don't want you to remember, he says, is that sometimes the law protects you, but sometimes it's just a story we tell ourselves to sleep at night. He speaks in riddles, weaving together stories of officers who vanished, without records, of files that flicker in and out of existence, and of voices recorded on surveillance equipment that no one ever put there. But then, as if a switch flips, he laughs nervously and says, "Maybe I'm just losing it. Or maybe we're all just characters in some twisted story someone's writing and rewriting, hoping no one notices the plot holes." You want to question him, press for clarity, but the line goes dead. Your phone rings seconds later. It's a number you don't recognize, but you answer anyway. Silence, and then a faint whisper. Iris is still watching. Your breath catches, but when you try to call back, the number is disconnected. You stare at your phone, fingers trembling. How many times has this happened now? How much of what you think you know is real, and how much is a symptom of something deeper, something you're not meant to see? You think about Cade, his haunted eyes, his faltering voice, the way he circled that photo like it was a map to some dark treasure no one else was allowed to find. Was he breaking under pressure, or was he trying to warn us? And Iris, was she a person, a ghost, or something else? A catalyst, or a curse? The more you dig, the more the edges of the truth crumble into dust. Files go missing, videos get corrupted. People forget conversations they swear they had. Memories don't align. Even your own sense of time shifts. Hours lost, moments repeated. You realize you're sinking into something that isn't just a mystery. It's a fracture in the very fabric of what you trust. But then comes the hardest question of all. What if the line between mental breakdown and supernatural interference is meaningless? What if the real terror is not knowing whether the voices in your head are echoes of trauma, or the whispers of something watching, waiting just out of sight? The fear curls in your chest like ice, silent, cold, unforgiving. Elliot was supposed to be your anchor, but now you wonder if he was a mirage all along. Did you call a stranger? Did you hear a ghost? Was he even real? Or just another fragment in a kaleidoscope of fractured truths? You glance at your phone again. There's a new message. No sender, no timestamp, just one line. Trust no one, not even yourself. You close your eyes trying to breathe, but when you open them again, the room feels different. A shadow stretches longer than it should across the floor. A soft breath brushes your neck. And in the corner of the screen, just for a second, a figure stands, watching, smiling, but you don't dare look again. Because now you know someone is watching, and the story you thought you found, it's only the beginning of what you'll never forget. For a long, bruising moment, you let yourself believe you're finally cracking it. The fragmented clues, the glitches in the footage, the half-whispered warnings, all begin to align with an eerie, brutal clarity. You found the file, a hidden archive buried deep in a forgotten corner of the court's digital system, labeled simply with a date, June 14th, 1997. No one had ever spoken about it, not in official records, not in whispered rumors. You play it, heart pounding like a fist against your ribs, and there it is. A grainy, flickering video of a courtroom not unlike the one you'd been obsessing over decades earlier. The same faces, some older, some younger, someone standing in the back with a look of knowing that chills you to your core. And then, a voice, low and trembling but unmistakably clear, speaking words you thought only Iris Monroe had ever said. They can't hide the truth. Not forever. You lean in closer, breath shallow, eyes scanning every frame. The camera pans to a man, maybe in his late 30s, his eyes hollow yet blazing with a desperate kind of insight. You recognize him, Cade, but younger, worn by shadows no time could erase. His hands shake as he crumples a piece of paper, the same paper that reappears in your own footage, the one with a name written in ink that seems to bleed under your gaze. The name is Margaret, but there's something else. Something in the edges of the frame that distorts like a memory glitch. A ripple in time. You almost missed it. A subtle flicker in the background, a shadow stretching too long, or a figure moving where none should be. And then it hits you with the force of a ghost you've tried so hard to forget. A cold, knotting dread that settles deep in your stomach, twisting your perception. This scene, this moment is a mirror of something buried within your own past. A trauma you never fully named. A silence from childhood. A scream never heard. A face in a crowd that should have been safe but wasn't. You remember flashes now, shards of time broken apart. An old car accident, a forgotten hospital room. A whispered warning you dismissed as a child. The edges of your mind ripple with fear and recognition. You're not crazy. They lied to you. You sit back trembling as the video ends and the room closes in around you. That's when the phone rings again. You don't want to answer it, but the dread crawling up your spine insists you must. The voice on the other end is low, familiar, but fractured, like it's coming from somewhere not quite here, somewhere distant yet inside your head. It doesn't say your name, but knows it anyway. It speaks only this. They're still watching. From the beginning, from before you even knew you needed to look, the line goes dead, and in that silence, you realize the danger has never been about badges or courtrooms or vanished officers. It's about something darker, something watching through the cracks of memory, weaving itself into your life, shaping the very fabric of what you think is real. It's there in the empty spaces between your thoughts, in the glitches of your vision, in the sudden, unexplainable chills that run down your spine. You look back at the footage, the messages, the conversations with Elliot, the whispered names from a baby's mouth, and everything fractures again. This isn't just a mystery uncovered. It's a nightmare unraveling. A hidden truth so tangled that the more you try to hold on to it, the more it slips away like smoke through your fingers. You were never meant to see this. And now, nothing will ever make sense the same way again. You sit in the dark, the weight of that unnamed watcher pressing down on your chest. And as the realization sinks in, you know you have no choice but to rewind everything, to watch the whole story again, frame by trembling frame. Because the truth, the real truth, isn't finished with you yet. You're not alone in this. It's a fact that clawed its way into your awareness like a cold hand brushing the back of your neck in an empty room. You were never meant to be the only witness. Others have been pulled into this tangled web, drawn by the same faint echoes, the same fractured pieces of a puzzle no one else dared to touch. Quiet watchers, scattered and fragmented, connected not by chance but by something far older and darker. And they're watching you as much as you watch them, hidden in the cracks of the world where the light fails to reach, communicating in a language you're only beginning to decode. These communications don't come easy, and they come without warning. A flicker on your screen, a flash of symbols in a corner of an old news broadcast, messages woven into static, that vanish when you blink but leave behind a lingering, unsettling feeling. Cryptic glyphs that shimmer just long enough to make you question your sanity. Shared dreams where faces blur and voices speak in riddles, repeating phrases like a mantra. You were right all along, the kind of phrase that feels less like reassurance and more like a warning. Something burned into the collective consciousness of those who have glimpsed the edges of this hidden reality. And beneath it all, the unmistakable undertone of a power, so vast and pervasive it defies understanding, something lurking behind every headline, every unsolved disappearance, every file lost or never released. Found footage from 20 years ago surfaces sporadically, fragmentary and raw, whispering the kind of secrets the government never released, fragments that don't fit into any official narrative, but pulse with the quiet horror of the untold. Sift through them, piecing together blurry images and garbled audio until a pattern emerges, a pattern that feels less like history and more like a warning carved into the fabric of time itself. As the lines between memory and manipulation blur, you start to question everything. Your identity, your memories, the very nature of what it means to be in control of your own mind. Faces you trusted fade in and out of your recollection, and every certainty you held slips beneath the weight of something unseen. Who decides what you remember? Who shapes the story you think you're living? And more terrifyingly, how much of yourself have you already lost to this unseen force? Then, just when the fog threatens to close in completely, a new voice breaks through the haze. A third perspective, quieter and colder than the rest, but maybe the only one telling the unvarnished truth. It speaks not in riddles, but in chilling clarity. They don't want you to know the whole story because once you do, you can never go back. You're not the hero. You're just another piece in their game. This observer watches from the shadows, distant yet disturbingly close, threading together strands of truth and deception with a precision that makes your skin crawl. Their warnings are warnings you can't afford to ignore, because beneath their detached exterior lies an urgency born of deep personal loss, and a knowledge that the story you thought you were uncovering is only a prelude to something far more dangerous. And so you sit in the darkness, the weight of unseen eyes pressing down, the murmurs of countless others tangled with your own racing thoughts. The screen flickers again, shadows deepening, symbols pulsing faintly in the corners of your vision. The story is far from over. In fact, it has just begun, and as you lean in, breath held tight, heart hammering like a secret drumbeat, you realize one thing with unshakable clarity. This is no accident, no random mystery to be solved and forgotten. This is a reckoning, and they have been waiting for you all along. There comes a moment in every story when the question ceases to be, what happened, and instead becomes, why? Why did the threads pull so tight? Why did the shadows stretch so long? And why, when everything seemed lost, did it all come crashing into the fragile core of one human heart? You sit there, trembling on the edge of revelation, the weight of the past pressing down with an unbearable intensity. And suddenly the mystery isn't some distant puzzle anymore. It's raw, it's real, it's painfully, heartbreakingly human. You remember the confession, whispered in a voice cracked by years of silence and regret, not from some faceless stranger, but from someone whose pain mirrors your own. I was scared. I didn't know how to stop it, or if I even wanted to. The words hang in the stale air like smoke, and you feel the crushing gravity of what they mean. Not just a confession of guilt, but a testament to fear, powerlessness, and the desperate choices that define us when there's no light left to guide the way. It's a moment of pure vulnerability, where armor dissolves and all that remains is the raw nerve of truth, fragile, bleeding, and utterly human. And there you are too, staring into that abyss, knowing that the truth might shatter you completely, or maybe, just maybe, it could set you free. It's a crossroads built not from facts or evidence, but from faith. Faith in yourself, in the memories you thought you understood, in the stories that have shaped your identity. To believe means to risk everything you thought you knew. To doubt means living in the shadows of what might have been. In that suspended heartbeat, the mystery shifts. It's no longer about uncovering secrets or exposing conspiracies. It's about what those secrets reveal about fear, control, and the yearning for connection in a world that often feels fractured and cold. It's about the faces behind the headlines, the silence between the words, the cracks where our humanity leaks out. You realize you've been waking up from a dream you didn't know you were in, a nightmare spun from forgotten memories and whispered lies. And now the question is whether you'll stay awake, facing the darkness with eyes wide open, or slip back into the comfort of unknowing. Because the truth you chase is not just out there. It's inside you, pulsing with the same fragile, terrifying heartbeat as your own. And as the screen fades to black, the final words linger, heavy and haunting, refusing to let go. Twin, you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for stories you were never meant to hear. Until next time, remember, some truths don't want to be found.